Hello, everybody. I just want to start off this review by saying that it was recorded a while ago, about 5 months ago when Shelby Oaks first came out in theaters. I watched it, came home, recorded this video completely unscripted, and it resulted in a product with a lot of jump cuts while I was talking because while I was recording, I was saying and thinking a lot, so I ended up cutting out all of those ums in the edit, and I felt like it made the edit shitty and I didn't think it was worth uploading. But recently I was looking on my hard drive and I came across the video and I watched it and I was like, this really isn't as bad as I remember it being. So I feel like it's worth uploading. It's obviously, like I said, 5 months past when I recorded it. So in the video I talk about how I just watched it in theaters, which wouldn't make sense now because it's no longer in theaters. So I just wanted to give this little explanation as to why that is. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. And now to me with a mustache and different glasses.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brett Gates, and today we'll be talking about the new movie Shelby Oaks. Shelby Oaks is a neon film directed by Chris Stuckman. Chris Stuckman is a fairly big movie review channel on YouTube. If you've been on the movie review side of YouTube, you've definitely heard or seen Chris Stuckman. When it got announced that he was making this movie, when I heard about it a couple months ago, I was super hyped. I thought that if someone who makes movie reviews is making a movie, I had very high expectation. I was like, I bet this is going to be very unique, all of that. And this is his first feature film. And I think it's so cool that so many YouTubers are making it into the theaters with their feature films. But the beginning of Shelby Oaks is very strong. I think it was done very well. It's in a mockumentary style, talking about this YouTube group that went missing called the Paranormal Paranoids. The host of this YouTube channel, Riley Brennan, who was the most paranormal connected, I guess I should say. She's the only one in the group that body was not found. The other people in the group, their bodies were found very brutally attacked, and they don't know where Riley is. But a lot of people just assume that she's dead, or because of the nature of their YouTube channel, which is kind of like a Sam and Colby-esque paranormal hunting kind of deal, where in almost every single one of their videos, they seem to capture something paranormal. So there's a lot of speculation that it's fake or that their disappearances are just them trying to drum up hype for when they come back and reveal that they were never missing in the first place, but then their bodies are found. And like I said, they're brutally attacked and Riley Brennan is still missing. This mockumentary is mainly interviewing Riley Brennan's sister, who very much believes in all this paranormal stuff. She knows that her sister has been having paranormal experiences her whole life, like seeing someone through her window and always having very vivid nightmares. And then whenever the group would go out on expeditions, Riley would be the one to sense something wrong or sense a presence, just whatever, stuff like that. The mockumentary is talking to Riley Brennan's sister, and she still very much believes that Riley is still out there and she wants to find her. And as the mockumentary is coming to a close, it shows like kind of behind the scenes footage where it seems like they just got done recording, but the camera's still on, and they hear a knock at the door. So Riley Brennan's sister, her name is Mia, walks up to the door and there's a man there. He says something like, "She finally let me go," and then he shoots himself in the head, and it smash cuts into being filmed like a normal movie. From this point on, it's no longer in a found footage style. You still see a lot of found footage, but from this point on, it is mainly just filmed like a normal movie. After the guy shoots himself, Mia looks down at his body and sees that he's holding a tape that says Shelby Oaks, and she calls the police but doesn't tell them about the tape because she wants to see it for herself. And something kind of funny about this is he shoots himself, and then it shows that the cops come and kind of like talk to her for a minute, and then later that night she's talking to her husband and she's very like out of it, very much still in shock, and then he leaves her alone and she's like, okay, now I'm gonna go watch the tape. But throughout all of this, like being interviewed by the police and talking to her husband late that night, she still has the dude's like blood all over her face, and I was just like, did none of the cops offer her like a fucking wet towel or something to clean her face? It was like, if I got blood all over my face, I mean, I guess if you're in shock, you probably wouldn't care, but if I saw her, I'd be like, oh, let me Just get that off your face real quick. It's not a nitpick or anything. I just thought it was kind of funny. But anyway, she watches the tape that the man had, and it shows all of the friends being attacked and murdered and Riley being abducted. And then at the end, he turns the camera to himself, and the man who killed the entire group and abducted Riley is the guy that shot himself. But after watching the tape, she goes on this mission to find out who that man was and what happened to Riley. And I forgot to mention, this whole mockumentary and her trying to find Riley and everything is quite a few years in the future from when the abduction happened and when they all went missing. But after seeing the tape, she doesn't want to tell the police or anything. She just wants to solve it on her own. So she looks into the guy who abducted Riley, and it turns out that he was like a very violent criminal, that a lot of strange things happened around him. And as she looks into it, she finds out that he went to this prison, and it turns out that that is an abandoned location in Shelby Oaks, that Riley and the group of paranormal paranoids, I believe it was the last site that they had made a video on. And we see clips from that video where Riley had a really bad feeling. She was like, guys, I don't think we should be here. And in the clips that the sister's watching, she sees a symbol on the wall in a cell and ends up going there. I think I'm missing a bit of details. She finds a book with a bunch of demonic stuff in it. It talks about a demon and hellhounds and like a sacrifice or something. Like I said, I might be getting some of this wrong, but she ends up actually seeing one of those dogs. It's supposed to be like hellhounds, whatever. The first time you see it, it's kind of like a silhouette in some trees, and you see it's like glowing eyes or whatever. And I thought this part was actually really cool. I think the way they filmed the hellhound was kind of creepy, and it got me a little bit excited because when I was thinking about it and when she was reading the book with all the demonic stuff, I was like, are they gonna try and make the scary thing just be like dogs? Which they were kind of subtly hinting at throughout the beginning of the movie, because there's points when they hear like dogs barking in the distance and everything. I was like, I don't know how they're gonna make this creepy. And then she sees that dog in the woods and it looks creepy, and you hear it breathing and it almost sounds like a person, like it sounds like human breathing. So I was like, okay, is it gonna be like a skinwalker type thing, which could be really cool. I was starting to be like getting a little skeptical at this point, but I was like, okay, it can still be kind of cool. Like, I could see how this is cool, especially after seeing that dog. But then the sister watches the video of the group going into the prison where the guy was kept, and it shows that they go to his cell, and Riley senses something. She's like, oh, it's getting cold in here. And then you start seeing her breath, and it's like, oh, okay, so there's something paranormal happening there. And as the sister's watching the video, she pauses it, and there's like something on the wall. So then she just runs off to the prison completely alone by herself. And I was like, okay, bro, whatever. And it's like the middle of the night too. It's like the fucking really stupid decision, but I was still trying to hold on to hope. And she goes there and she's looking around. She goes to the cell and her light starts going out. And since the cell is completely dark, she hears a noise and backs out of the cell. And then you think something's gonna pop out of the darkness, and then a hellhound like bites by her ear or something. So she backs up, and then a giant black demon arm like grabs the dog. And I was like, okay, whatever. And she runs out of there and then immediately drives to this creepy amusement park where her sister had been previous. And I'm like, okay, like, you just got attacked, but okay, whatever. So she parks there, and this part kind of pissed me off a little bit because she parks there and she's like getting ready, and then she reaches into her glove box. I'm like, okay, she's grabbing a gun. Finally, something semi-useful. I mean, there's ghosts and everything, but like I'd rather have a gun than nothing. And she reaches in and just grabs another flashlight. That part, I was like, what? Because her last flashlight broke just because she was around the ghost. So it's like, okay, you have another flashlight. That one's, what is that gonna do? Whatever. So she looks around. She's walking around in the woods and then sees one of the hellhounds again, and she shines her light on it, and it kind of just looks like a regular ass dog. And I was like, okay, whatever. Could have made it look more interesting than that, but whatever. And she follows the dog to this cabin, and as she's walking around to the cabin, there's an old lady, and she's acting all creepy and stuff. And the old lady invites her in, so she goes inside, and as she's standing inside, they hear like someone walking above them. So she asks the old lady, do you not live alone out here? And the old lady's just like, nope, and then walks into the other room. And there hasn't really been funny parts in the movie up until this point, other than like unintentionally funny stuff. So I was just like, it was a weird comedic moment that like I laughed at, but it was also a little weird for the situation. But they walk into the next room, the old lady's acting all creepy, and then Mia's like, oh, who do you live here with? And she's like, oh, my son, who's right behind you, which is kind of creepy. And then she turns around and it's revealed that the lady's just talking about a picture of her son. And it's revealed that the creepy old lady's son is the guy who kidnapped Riley. So Mia starts freaking out and is all like, oh, can you go get me a snack from your kitchen? And the old lady goes. She contacts someone, is like, send the police here right now. And she walks over and finds a scrapbook. And in that scrapbook, it reveals that the guy kidnapped Riley and impregnated her. And then they're shown in like these ritualistic garbs with like weird stick hats on their head. It's very like ritualistic. And then it shows that the baby was born, and then the old lady comes back in the room and Mia's like, where the fuck is my sister? The police are already on their way. So the old lady opens a hatch in the floor and she's like, oh, she's down here, and then walks down there and just like walks into the darkness, and Mia, like a fucking idiot, follows her. When I was sitting there just being all like, why don't you just like close the latch and lock it and wait for the police to come? But she's a fucking idiot and doesn't do that, and she follows her down there and sees Riley in a cage, and she's like, Riley, come to me, blah, blah, blah. And as they're running out, Riley keeps like turning around, and the old lady is behind her, and she keeps getting closer every time she turns around. And then the final time she turns around, the old lady's standing there, and there's this like giant buff demon standing behind the old lady. So she slams the hatch and locks it and tries to run out with Riley, and then Riley turns around and runs back into the living room and upstairs past the now open hatch. And Mia follows her upstairs, and Riley is standing in front of a door where there's baby crying on the other side. And at this point I'm like, okay, things have been getting really fucking stupid, but my hope is not lost. So they go in that room, and the old lady is standing there, and she has the baby in a crib, and she cuts her wrist open and bleeds all over the baby and starts saying a bunch of ritualistic shit. And then Riley tries to run at her with a knife or something to kill her, and the old lady uses like the force. She uses like powers to lift Riley up in the air, and then she like force pushes Mia back, and then she drops Riley. Riley's just laying there on the floor, and she continues doing the ritual, and you see the big buff demon behind her. And then Mia checks on Riley. Riley's unconscious. Mia looks at the old lady, and then the old lady like rubs blood on some pictures of Mia and Riley, and then just dies. So Mia walks over to the baby. The baby's like covered in blood after this ritual where she saw the demon there. She's like, ooh, a baby, let's take it home. Mia takes the baby and Riley to the hospital. They treat them. Riley keeps looking at the baby all weird because the baby's probably fucking possessed, because that's what that whole fucking ritual is about. And Riley and Mia go home. Mia's still acting kind of weird, and it cuts back to the mockumentary being continued, and they're like, oh, Riley's home now, she's safe, everything's good. Everything's all nice and dandy. And then the interview ends. Riley's going to bed with the baby in the room. Mia like checks on her and then goes to let the person making the documentary out of the house. And as she's talking to the documentary person, Riley gets up and grabs her pillow and goes to suffocate the baby. And then Mia walks in and sees what Riley's about to do. And she's like, oh, don't do this. You're not a murderer. And she's acting like Riley's holding like a fucking knife or something, but she's holding a pillow. It's gonna take a minute to suffocate the baby. She's like trying to negotiate her like she has a fucking gun or a knife, and it's just a pillow. So I thought that was really funny, especially because it's like, don't do it. I have to do this. You don't know what that baby is. And then as Riley is slowly suffocating the baby with the pillow, Mia obviously just runs over and like shoves Riley out of the way. And Riley just flies out a fucking window and survives the fall. And then she just starts getting eaten by the fucking hellhound dogs. And then you see the demon behind Mia, and it touches her shoulder. Mia screams and her eyes like turn black, and then it ends. And that's the movie. I just gotta say, the beginning of this movie, up until Mia ends up running to the hospital by herself, is really good. Like, especially the beginning mockumentary and a bit into where the movie starts like actually being filmed like a movie. I feel like it's done really well. The acting's good, the editing's good, the setup is really interesting. There's a lot of promise here. I want to see Chris Stuckman's next movie. He can obviously make a good movie, but the ending and like just basically the whole second half of the movie sucked ass. It was so bad and I hated it. I was so disappointed. And I do want to mention that I found this little behind the scenes interview with Chris Stuckman where he basically says that while they were filming, they just ran out of money. They completely ran out of money. It was already a low budget film and they ran out of money while filming it. And then it got picked up by Neon, and Neon gave them more money to film for 3 extra days, which is not that much. And Chris Stuckman says in that interview that a lot of ideas and scenes, like full-on scenes, just couldn't be filmed because they didn't have the money or the time.
The way it went down was we literally ran out of money. And there were ideas in my script that never came to fruition. There were scenes, entire scenes that we'd had to drop. And when Neon acquired the film, we got to go back for 3 more days and do the things that in my head I had already abandoned.
This movie was supposed to have a lot more to it, but the product as it is, I really do not like it. I think that second half completely trashed it, but because of the beginning, I want to see more. I want to see what he has next, and I want to see what he can do with more time and a bigger budget. I think he can really make something awesome. But that's mainly all I have to say about Shelby Oaks. I think if you can check it out, you should, even though the ending, you're definitely going to leave the theater disappointed. But I think that beginning is worth seeing at least. But yeah, that's how I feel about Shelby Oaks.
Well, wasn't that a review that we just watched? It was definitely worth 5 months of me not uploading it and then just dropping out of nowhere, right? Totally. That's what I'm saying, bro. If you hated this video, make sure to never check out my channel again. But if you found even the slightest bit of enjoyment watching this, please stick around because I have more content in the works, some movie reviews, maybe even a short film. And by in the works, I just mean I'm working on the scripts, but hopefully those will all be coming out fairly soon. So stick around for that. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. See ya.